So for instance, if I was going to write a program where I got 30 test scores from a user, I'd have to create 30 variables, right? That would be violating our, that would be right along the lines of we enjoy typing. So what we do instead of having 80,000 variables is we have one variable that can store 80,000 things. And in computer science jargon, that's called a data structure. So a list in Python, which I just called it a list, can consist of many different items referenced by a single variable. Well, then your next question is, how do I pick which one of these I want to access if I want to get to this information later, right? That was your question, wasn't it? Had to be. You do it by index. So this is the first value, but it starts at 0 because computers love to start at 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if I want the index 5 person, I'd get n. Well, let's do a little list and see what, okay, simple list. Let's do a little list. If you haven't done this already, let's go ahead and do it all together. If you have done it, you can get your program out and we can look at it. I have my tutorials right here. Oh, I'm already in the tutorials. So there should be one called simple list. Simple list, where's my simple list? Oh, it's right there, it says simple list. So we can create a list just by typing it out. We have a name. This is just like assigning a variable, but instead of just typing one thing in, well, if I had a list of 3 things and I did variables, I'd have to have 3 different variables. Instead, I put a bracket around it and I do, there's the first element. That's what that's called, the first element. And then I put in the second element, then I put in the third element, then I put in the fourth element. Well, you can see where this is going. So this is one way to create a list, is by typing in the things that you want. And that's a valid way to do it. So I could have 2 things in my list. I could have 80 million things in my list, except your computer would probably run out of memory. I can print the list directly. How do I get to the individual items in the list? That's where we use what's called the bracket operator. If I print this, I'm going to get the first element, right? Because most data structures like this start at 0 because computers like 0. They like zeros and ones. There is the second element. And this is the last one. What? How can that be the last one? Well, starting from the end, when you do minus, you're starting from over here, and that gives us this guy. So -2 is going to be 4.
Sean, get you what you say, all I know.
And then I'll go to the one that's in the tutorial. When we print this list, just like this, yeah, it looked kind of clunky with the brackets and commas and stuff in there. We can use something that's I call a for each loop, and in other languages, that's what it's called. Python just calls it a for loop. So for each, and I'm just going to put each number in my list. Oops, I have to spell it right. Oh, there we go. Colon at the end. So for each number in my list, I am going to print that number. So for each number, looks in the list and it says, oh, this is the first one. I'm going to print that. Then it says, oh, inside this list, the next one is 2, the next one is 3, 4, 5. And when it reaches the end, it quits and keeps moving. So for each number in the list, it's going to print them individually. And then you end up with this. Right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. It prints each individual item. And it's beautiful. Well, it may not be the most beautiful thing, but it allows us to go through the list without having to do anything fancy. So for each number in my list, we print each number. Now, the next thing that we have is access a list. Well, we've just been doing integers to this point. What do you say we do some other data type? Well, you can have any type you want. In fact, I picked cheeses. I think I had just watched Wallace and Gromit go to the moon, probably at this point. They have where they go to the moon and eat cheese. Anybody know Wallace and Gromit? Okay, we have one. Okay. So anyway, if you've not watched Wallace and Gromit, it's time to get done. Chicken Run. No. What's the other ones they've done? They just did one that's on Netflix. I don't remember what it is. Anyway, they're claymation things. Anyway, doesn't matter. So this is not integers, is it? It's strings. We use them the same way. We can put any data type in here we want. Doesn't matter. We can put floats in here if we want. We still print them out the same way for each cheese and cheeses, which I just thought was funny is the reason I did that. We print out each cheese. Now, I decided when I go to my restaurant, I want to be able to pick my cheese. Which cheese do I want? So here's my menu. Okay, I can pick 1, 2, or 3. I like Swiss cheese. Uh-oh. I did something wrong, didn't I?
I don't think you hit 2. I don't think
Even if you
it.
can,
I don't know what happened. This should work. Enter the number. Oh, the numlock was not on. I was doing virtual machines earlier today. There we go. So I picked cheddar. But didn't I say that this guy's index is 0, 1, and 2? Right? If we look at the list, this is supposed to be 0, 1, and 2. So how did I fix that? I took my choice, which is an integer, and subtracted 1 from it. So I aligned it with the list index. So if I type in a 1, subtract 1 from 1, I get 0. That's referred to in computer science as the off by 1 error. When you're dealing with these sort of data structures, they're always off 1.
Okay, all right. Yes, thank you.
So far, so good.
Why do they do that? I mean, why is that? Why
Computers
not?
like zeros and ones.
I know, but. I mean, they just, yeah,
Everything in a computer is either is or isn't. It's all zeros and ones.
yeah, I know, it just,
It's whoever wrote these. It's like the first programming language ever that I worked with, C# or something, started with zeros. Who knows? Good question. You have to ask somebody besides me.
I think they fix that.
It's what?
You think they'd fix that?
Well, they did in MATLAB. MATLAB is an engineering program where their vectors or lists or whatever you want to call them, they actually start at 1, which is confusing for me because I'm used to zeros all these years with every other language I've used. So yes, they fixed it, as you might say. Well, we did for loops, right? And we know about while loops, so let's look at while loops here. Now we can change a list. Just because it starts with ABC, we can add to it. So we are going to go through here. Here's our counter variable. We're going to print our counter variable and add that to the end of this list. which means we can change the type of data that's in the list. I'm gonna increment it by 1. And I'm gonna end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 or something like that. Because append means add on to the end of the list. There it is, ABC 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you don't have to have the same data type, although we typically do. We have the same data type. Append allows us to add something to the end of the list. So lists can be changed, just like a variable. Go ahead and take enough drugs during my lunch break. So far, so good? No?
Well, yeah, when you print it, I'm kind of confused about how I'm.
So we are going to create a list from user input. To start with, we need an empty list. There's nothing in there. There's nothing typed in between the brackets. Now I want to add several names to my list. So this could be like a friends list or a coworkers list. I'm going to enter the name. If I press the enter key, when I press the enter key, I put nothing in the input. The program, when I do break, it breaks out of the while true, and then I'm done with the program. The important part of this is as I type in the name, I'm appending that to the list. So I start out with Sean, and then Owen, Hope, and then Joe, Christy. I'm gonna leave out Eliza because I can't remember how to pronounce his name. Is that right?
The I is EI.
There's an E here.
No. The I is not part. Ah, okay, yeah. No,
Oh, no I, but that's right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
there is the E, you have jumped by smile.
Where's the E go?
The E is after the I.
Right here.
Yeah.
Now we're good. Or close enough. Now when I press the enter key, I exit, and there's my contact list. Oh, it's not in the same order that I put it in here. What do you suppose I did?
You sorted it out.
Oh, alphabetical.
Sort it would be sorting it alphabetically. And then once it's sorted, I went through each name in Friends and printed it out. Without a list, I'd have a hard time doing that, but a list can be added on to. I can add as many elements. I could put in 100 people or 5,000 if I wanted. Or if I try to do that with variable names, I'm not sure how I would come up with an expanding amount of variables. I'd have to have some way to like change the variable name each time, and that would be very cumbersome. So lists can be a bit intimidating the first time you work with them, and they will be intimidating for a little bit. But once you get used to how they work, they're very convenient for doing things when we have bunches of stuff. Like one of my tutorials is an interactive shopping list. So if I wanted to do a shopping list, there it is, interactive. I'm just going to demonstrate this one. So look at here. I can add, remove, sort, and print. So this is my shopping list. All right, let's see here. I'm going to get drugs and antibiotics for my whatever I've got. And I'm going to sort my list. Oh, it didn't sort my list, did it? Oh, capital D comes before a lowercase a. Yeah, sorry about that. Let's remove antibiotics. And notice I numbered. Remember the thing we did earlier where we would put numbers by each element in the list? If I didn't do that, I'd have to type in antibiotics and spell it right. And make sure all the case was right. It's a lot easier to type 2 and it's gone. So that's a user convenience thing. So this time I'll type in Now, capital A N T I B O A T I C S. It's in the wrong order. Now when I sort it, it's in the right order, and I can print my list. There, I have a real program. I can print that out and take it to the store. Yeah, I'd have to bring the whole computer at this point, wouldn't I? Because I don't have any way to print to a printer. In fact, we don't do printing to the printer because I can tell you how much I print to a printer, like very seldom. How would you do that without lists?